Hey guys, Drifter here. Welcome back to another episode of Warzone in Depth. In today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at the FR556, but in single fire mode instead of burst fire like last time. I was really close last time with the old FR556 video saying that it was good in burst, and it's not bad in burst, but JGOD discovered that it's actually better in single fire mode because you can shoot it faster that way. And you could say that he liberally borrowed my idea, or perhaps stole it, but then again, I stole it from Proc Prime, and we both had to lean on true game data for a lot of the stats you're going to see today. So saying that somebody's copying somebody and trying to influence the meta in the CoD community is a lot like the Spider-Man meme. So in burst fire mode, it'll fire at 475 rounds per minute with a pretty significant 333 millisecond burst delay, which is one of its biggest drawbacks. However, when you put it in semi-auto, your rate of fire actually increases significantly up to 650 rounds per minute, almost kind of like a normal assault rifle if you've got the trigger finger good enough, and no burst delay. I don't think a lot of you are going to have a trigger finger that fast, or even a mouse finger, but if you're playing on PC, I do know a lot of you are probably going to bind the fire button to the scroll wheel and scroll and just dump as many bullets downstream as you can, because I already ran into people today doing that. I also ran into this unfortunate person who left me a surprise for in-depth. I'd love to get an FR556 single fire drive-by. I think that would look really good for YouTube.
A few moments later.
Oh, here he is.
Right there.
Perfect for you.
Let's go. Oh, that's bad. They're on the buy, but they should push us really soon. Okay, so mathematically speaking, the FR in semi-auto, if you're only hitting body shots, will kill in 550 milliseconds, which is on the faster side of things for assault rifles. That's not going to kill as fast as the FFAR or a few of the ultra shreddy guns, but it's very competitive and not bad. However, if you start landing a bunch of headshots, your time to kill can drop down to as low as 369 milliseconds, which is really, really fast, and it just absolutely deletes people. So if you do have somebody run up on you in close, or maybe if they're not paying attention at long range, putting headshots on people makes a very, very big difference. One of the other things about this gun that makes a big difference, in my opinion, is its muzzle velocity. Depending on which setup you're going to run, because I'm going to show you two today, the tactical suppressor muzzle velocity is about 1,000 meters per second, and the monolithic suppressor muzzle velocity is about 1,200 meters per second. These are really, really fast for Warzone. There's not going to be a whole lot of bullet drop or things that you have to calculate for. For comparison, if you want to use the M16 with the default standard setup, we know that the muzzle velocity is about 750 meters per second, though it might be a little bit faster than that because we haven't added the agency suppressor, or True Game Data hasn't effectively tested it yet, so I'm just going to wait on him for that one. So I would wager that the muzzle velocity on the M16 is probably a little faster than that 750, but definitely not going to compete with the FR's 1200 depending on how you want to kit it. If you just get this gun and do a wall test, you'll notice that the recoil is actually quite high. It'll kick up really hard and really fast. However, it's almost exclusively vertical, and since you're doing one shot at a time and you kind of control that input, it is very easy to control. I think that despite being objectively high recoil, that subjectively as you play with the weapon, most of you will find it to be very manageable, especially when mounted, which is where you're going to primarily want to use this weapon at long ranges, to mount and just delete people like a DMR. It's going to be very, very good at that. It shouldn't be too hard. In this same topic, since we don't no longer have to kit the weapon for minimum recoil like we did when we were burst firing it, we can now make the FR556 handle a lot better instead of that slow monstrosity that we had before. So for your recoil, you can either choose operator or commando grip. We're going to talk about both of those in just a second. Either one will do the job pretty good depending on what you want to sacrifice. The operator is going to sacrifice your ADS time. The commando grip is going to sacrifice your ADS strafing speed and movement speed, but the recoil reduction is going to be pretty similar on either one. This is my FR single fire class. I'm running the tactical suppressor because the bullet velocity is already great, but there's nothing wrong with the monolithic suppressor, just ADS is a little bit slower. You can go with more range and muzzle velocity if you want to. Hard to beat the sniper barrel. More range, more muzzle velocity, recoil reduction, that's great. VLK optics, pretty standard, but you can run whatever you want. Now, between the two foregrips, we talked about commando foregrip, and the operator foregrip will do a pretty similar thing. It just kind of depends on which of those two downsides you are most comfortable dealing with. At the end of that, you can choose either attack laser like I did to ADS faster, or a 60 round magazine to spray people down. It's kind of your choice on which one of these you want to go with. Without the attack laser, it's going to be slow and harder to use in close quarters. But if you do run the tac laser, it's going to be a little bit harder to just spam people, and you'll run out of ammo faster than you would with normal weapons. Since I was mostly playing in a very competitive squad today, a bunch of 5 KD boys and very, very high skill matching, I actually decided to go with the tac laser so that I could react faster. It wasn't great only having 30 rounds, and if I were playing in a different skill level where I had the opportunity to position somewhat more safely or do more long-range engagements, I probably would go with the 60-round mags. So then, the question becomes, how does it perform? And the answer is not bad, but also not the best. It's great at long-range suppression, which is what JGOD and I both believe it's probably best at. You can really spam people down, and I think it's actually super strong if you have a full squad just hammering away with this one, just like the old DMR. A full squad of people rolls up on you with this and starts putting bullets downstream. They're not going to miss a whole lot. It's going to feel like you get shredded. You're going to die very, very quickly. This weapon is extremely effective at that. It's extremely effective at harassing snipers, at shooting little dots in the distance. The bullet velocity is amazing. That's probably one of the best parts about it. You don't have to lead your shots very much. You don't have to calculate drops very much. You could treat it mostly like a hit scan, and anything under like 300 or 400 meters, you will be totally fine doing that with. However, even with good time to kill, good theoretical time to kill, it's gonna be shaky in close quarters combat because let's be real, you're running around with a single fire weapon with a really long range zoom. When somebody gets in your face and they're bouncing around like a cracked out 9-year-old on G Fuel shooting you with machine guns while sitting in a corner with their rose skin, it's going to be hard to deal with. So that theoretical time to kill isn't going to be very good in close quarters combat. You will want a close quarters backup weapon, almost certainly going to be a FAR or maybe, I don't know, a bullfrog, MAC-10, something kind of like that. I've been actually having a lot of fun with the MP5 lately. So weak up close, good at long ranges, and in my opinion, I think that this is a very good DMR/FAL alternative. The DMR and FAL have been nerfed respectively to not have the most amazing headshot multipliers. The recoil's goofy, the attachments are goofy now. I think it's probably closer to the FAL than the DMR. I think it could easily replace that if you want a good single fire weapon. If that's just your jam, you can go for it, but I doubt that it can replace the current M16. It kind of runs into the same problem they ran into in the old FR556 episode, in that the M16 does almost as good of a job at damage and range, but the handling is a lot better, and it's just subjectively easier to use, so you can spam with the M16, and I think this has the same problem. While it's not terrible, I think a whole team of spamming M16s could probably do better than a whole team of spamming single-fire FRs, though it's yet to be seen what the super competitive players are going to do when they try this out. Guys, that is all for this very short episode of Warzone In Depth. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe, of course. And in the comments below, I would like for you to recommend something for me to look into for the next episode. A myth, a mystery, a weapon setup. Not your personal weapon setup that you love so much, but something that you really think could change up the game. And I'll be going through the comments and giving them a look-see. So I guess we'll see what you guys come up with. Drifter out.